Hi guys, so the topic today is the way to heal sexuality is through bringing purpose to it. A lot of people don't understand this topic, and it's very relevant because people always try to separate their sexual nature and their sexuality away from their spiritual practices. It's not a part of yoga, or they say that it's not a part of yoga or any high spiritual moral practices. And I believe that people do this because they don't have a good understanding of what their sexual energy and what sexuality actually is. When they hear sexuality and they hear sex, they automatically think of the carnal act of a penis going into a vagina and whatever other ideologies and things that they've seen and heard about sex on TV or from their parents or through culture. Well, sexual energy is just aroused life force. If you know what life force is, prana, chi, it's the energy that keeps us all alive. Sexual energy is just that aroused, and sexuality is just your personal expression of that energy. It's creative life force energy. It's your Shakti energy, and the way you express that is your sexuality. It's important to see a more holistic idea of what sexuality is, because if you don't, it's hard to bring purpose to it. It's important to bring purpose to your sexuality in order to heal it, because if not, you don't know how to deal with it because you don't have any good intentions for it. And so it just becomes repressed, unused energy, but it's there anyway. It's a part of your spiritual anatomy. Anatomy meaning the makeup of your intelligence and your consciousness. And what a lot of people don't understand is healing your sexuality has a lot to do with healing the unconsciousness, which is the only true way of enlightenment. So you have your unconsciousness that it lies in this region of the body, your root and your sacral chakra. The unconscious mind is the part of the mind that are compromised of all the memories and experiences that you've ever had that you don't really fully recall. Your subconscious mind is the part of the mind that is here in your heart chakra, and it's the things that you recall every now and then. Like maybe you smell something and then it reminds you of a memory that you had. And then you have your conscious mind, which you're aware of all the time. And then you have the super consciousness, which is divine, pure consciousness. The idea is to bring light and understanding to the unconscious mind. And that's how you gain wisdom, period. And that's why sexual energy is connected to Kundalini, because she dissolves all illusions. This unconscious self, yogis often call the false self, because a lot of the unconscious mind is not just things that you want to forget or you don't forget. It's the repressed emotions that you put away because you feel like they're unacceptable for society's norms. And the problem with repressing what's natural to you, your born instincts that society says are unacceptable, is that it creates stagnant energy. And in the unconscious mind, even though there's a lot of repressed energy and emotions here where you think they have nothing to do with your life because they're conscious, because they're not conscious, they actually do. They drive your life. These are all of the patterns that you instinctively do without thinking about them. And if you don't become aware of these unconscious thoughts, what happens, and you don't bring any purpose to why these things happen and bring some understanding, you end up getting caught in the same patterns. The sacral part region of the body, your chakra, your sexuality is all about movement and duality. And so as you repress emotions and repress your sexuality, you usually end up going to one extreme or the other when the truth is always in the center. And so what you need to do, and the purpose of spiritual practices, is to use your sexual energy to awaken, again, it's aroused life force, to awaken this kind of repressed emotional gunk that's going on down here, and bring some wisdom to it. And that's how you bring purpose to it. The other thing that I want people to understand is going back to the fact that sexuality is not just about a penis penetrating a vagina or whatever sexual acts that you imagine when you hear the word sexuality. It's an expression, a divine expression of your creative, aroused life force. So that means that there's many other purposes to it besides just pleasing someone else. And I think that's very important for men and women to understand. You need to learn how to cultivate and use your sexual energy for higher purposes than just instant gratification and pleasure. Now, the greatest thing that creative energy does within the human being is to create another life. I think most of us understand that, but it's also so that we can liberate ourselves from these locked karmic patterns that we're in, and bring enlightenment to what we're doing, and also so that we can create better lives for ourselves. So you have two currents of consciousness. You have a liberating current of consciousness that goes this way, and then you have a descending manifesting current that goes down this way. This current comes from the higher chakras, or higher consciousness, and this one comes from the lower chakras or consciousness. The idea is that this energy down here comes up and connects with the higher, so you bring wisdom so that you can be liberated and expand. And this energy comes down here so that you can manifest the thoughts and ideas of your heart. If you repress this energy and you don't know how to use it correctly, again, you get stuck, and there's no liberating current that's going up to bring purpose to this energy. So you get locked in these unconscious patterns. That's why you need to make sexual practices a part of your spiritual practices. And sexuality, again, does not have to mean having sex. And as women and men, it's important to know how to cultivate that outside of just having sex, and bringing purpose to it outside of just having sex. So that could mean through dance and movement and expression. It could mean through poetry and writing and art. It could mean through making connections, and if you get really deep, it could mean the expanding of your actual consciousness, which is, I probably say, right up there with having children. Because if you believe that all your sexuality is for having sex with another individual, it's disempowering. Because what if you're not having sex with an individual? Are you attaching your worth only to that, your sexual worth only to that? What if you're not having a baby and never plan to have a baby? Does that mean that your sexuality just sits and dries up? No, it has many purposes. And the more that you have a holistic view of what your sexuality is supposed to do, the more you'll feel comfortable and be able to heal it, because there's purpose with it. It's really, really important to the healing process, and everybody needs to heal their sexuality. Everybody needs to develop and become mature when it comes to their sexuality. So I hope that made sense, and I hope that it also allows people to begin to understand the connection of spirit and sexuality, and why they need to come together, and how they were always designed to within your spiritual practices. It was not meant to be separate. It was not meant for you to separate your sexuality from your spiritual practices, whether it's yoga or whatever spiritual practice that you have, because you're missing such a huge part of your awakening.